And to introduce Brent Gough, the 2025 Alumnus of the Year, a distinguished Alumnus Award recipient himself, please welcome Bearden.
Normally I don't feel this way, but I'm not sure I want to follow our previous speaker. What an inspiration. Chief, thank you. And Chief Hayes, of course, to you. Thank you. Stirring, moving, and sincere. And in the tenor of the moment, I'll share something that I feel compelled to share because we're talking so about scholarships. I came to Weatherford College because Rod Embry offered me a golf scholarship, and I received a scholarship from the Kiwanis Club. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been at Weatherford College. When I went on to TCU, I had a full academic scholarship, later to Tarleton for my graduate work, a Texas Business Hall of Fame scholarship, and by the time I did some doctoral work at UNT, I could afford it on my own, thankfully, at that point in time. When I hear, Dr. Farmer, that we're awarding 88% of the students here with some type of financial aid or scholarship, nothing could be more encouraging. We have no idea how important that is. And that ties into what I'm going to share with you. 156 years and counting. That's how long this storied institution has survived and flourished in the streets, in the buildings of Weatherford, and in the hearts of tens of thousands of former students around the world. As you know, started as an education outpost by the Masonic Lodge, this grand purveyor of knowledge would eventually become a successful Methodist school before becoming the jewel of Texas education in 1949 that we know it as today. Over the past century and a half, many obstacles have been faced by this beloved college that would likely have ended the existence of lesser institutions. The hostile frontier of Texas in the 1800s, depressions, wars, nothing, it seems, could ever close the doors of Weatherford College. It was as if every time darkness tried to descend, there would be a leader who would rise up within the college's community, overcome whatever was in play at the time, and take the college to the next step. Such is the story of our recipient today of the college's highest ex-students award, the Alumnus of the Year. But first, a little history. Originally from Graham, Texas, our recipient would learn the valuable lessons of independence and hard work when he made the difficult decision at the age of 17 to leave home. He would pay his own way through Weatherford College and be graduated in the class of 1985 and later go on to Tarleton State University. Although he would study business in college, as if his life wasn't already challenging enough, he competed in rodeo in his early years. So to say that he has lived through the hard knocks of life, physically, emotionally, and mentally, is an understatement if you know anything about rodeo. It was this independence, though, and paying his way through school that would have a profound impact on his life in later years. Those difficult early lessons provided the motivation for the discipline that is his routine in life now. A financial advisor since 1998, our honoree has spent the last 27 years living out his best life with the singular and noble purpose of giving back to others through his expertise, his time, his counsel, undivided attention, and commitment to helping them achieve their financial goals. Recognized in the financial planning industry as an overachiever that models the best of the profession, he's qualified for the Financial Advisors Leaders Conference 15 times and served as the performance leader for 5 years. He's built his Parker County firm in Aledo on personal relationships, being engaged and intimately involved with the families he serves. But that's only half the story. So back to the original plot. Step back with me. Longtime Weatherford banker turned scholarship advocate extraordinaire Bob Glenn was propelling the college's foundation to heights as yet undiscovered when we entered a new decade in 2020. New scholarship endowments were coming from the left, from the right, from the east and the west, everywhere. No one could say no to Bob's request to help deserving students. His energy seemed endless, and the sky was the limit for the foundation. However, in early 2022, our dear friend, Mr. Glenn, passed unexpectedly, leaving a huge hole in the leadership of the college's foundation and uncertainty about who or what was going to come next. What would become of all this momentum in meeting the ever-growing student need for money to get into college? The dynamic duo of Bob and Brent Baker seemed unstoppable, and yet in a moment, the world had changed. It seemed that no one would ever be able to match Bob's enthusiasm, leadership, and sheer determination in advocating for the students of Weatherford College. A man our college president said gave more and expected less in return than anyone he had ever met was gone. How could the college continue at the same extraordinary level of scholarship growth? Was Weatherford College to take a step backwards? Would scholarships actually become less available? Cue the man on stage right, the one on the white horse. When uncertainty reigned in the foundation's future direction, most unsure, our 2025 Alumnus of the Year, in what appeared to be an effortless and natural move for him, stepped into the role of foundation president, determined to secure and even expand upon the gains of Bob Glenn's legacy. Not only did he jump in to lead the foundation board, he personally injected himself into numerous opportunities with potential donors, both at the annual Scholarship Appreciation Luncheon and through private personal meetings with would-be donors. Just in the past 12 months, he has brought 3 new scholarship opportunities to the foundation that had absolutely no other ties to Weatherford College. That was before, of course, they heard the compelling story that he would share. If that weren't enough, he and his wife have funded and are continuing to grow their own permanent endowed scholarship. Suddenly, now it seems that the best is still yet to come for this shining city on the hill, thanks Skipper for that one, that started oh so long ago to bring education to the frontier. As has been the case for the last 150 years, at the appointed time, for such a time as this, the right leader emerges when the college needs them the most. It was the case when the current college president, Dr. Farmer, and now with our honoree today, in the almost full-time yet volunteer role for a foundation president. Ask anyone in Weatherford, Parker County, the state of Texas, or even beyond. Weatherford College is just getting started. Please join me today in honoring the founder of Gough Wealth Management in Aledo, the leader of the college's growing and loved foundation, an active member of numerous committees and organizations in Greenwood Baptist Church, and most of all, the proud husband of Meredith and dad of 4 children and 3 grandchildren. Let's give our best black and gold welcome today to the 2025 WC Alumnus of the Year, Brent Gough.
Same problem you guys have. I have to lower this a little bit. I did learn something today. If I'm ever introduced again, you're the guy. So thank you very much. I mean, that was nice. I really appreciate that. I just want to say that I had a sneaky suspicion that the voting was skewed a little bit, because after listening to these 2 folks that were being honored today, I feel like giving that up right now, because I would have voted for either one of you. So congratulations on your accomplishments. Chief, congratulations, and on your upcoming retirement. And I just want to say from my family to you, you keep us safe, and that's a good feeling every day, is to get up, be able just to go spend time with my family, spend time going to work, building my business. it's a great feeling for guys like you, and I appreciate the three of you, and congratulations. I just want to say, I'm glad this luncheon is taking place right now, because I was really afraid that someone, I don't know what the criteria for being Alumnus of the Year is, but I was really afraid that someone was going to talk to one of my professors or go back and check my grade point average, and I was going to be disqualified because I was a terrible student. I didn't like school. I didn't want to be there. But I'm going to share a little bit about my story and my history in just a few minutes. But I want to thank a few people. I want to thank the Board of Trustees, Weatherford College. Man, it's a great job. I mean, what's going on here, Dr. Farmer, what you're doing here, it's amazing. If you drive through here, isn't it incredible to see the growth and what's going on? Being the foundation president is pretty easy. Now, the only hard part of being the president of the Weatherford College Foundation is following the late Bob Glenn. Now, the only analogy that I could really think of in thinking of me being plugged in there, and I think I was just set up when they asked me, do you want to fill those shoes, is if I were asked to be the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs when Patrick Mahomes retires, because there is no way that you can do the same job that Bob Glenn did. That guy loved this college, he loved people, he loved this community, and he did everything that he possibly could to help grow and to provide more scholarships for our students. I miss working with him. I really do. That guy, his leadership, I learned a lot from him. However, I did try to do the best that I could, and with a guy like this sitting beside you at the foundation board meetings, it's pretty easy. You know, I get a lot of credit. I'm standing up here and taking credit for being the president of the board, but I learned everything I learned from him. I learned the passion for Weatherford College. And you know, my passion at Weatherford College didn't start in 1983 when I started school down here. Like I said, I didn't really enjoy going to school. My passion started about 10 or 11 years ago, and I'm going to share that journey with you in just a few minutes. I want to, you were talking about your wife and what keeps the family together, and I want to thank my wife, Meredith. She's out here today, and I love you so much. And we have 4 children, 3 grandchildren. We've raised them right here in Parker County. She has been by my side the entire time and just helped me get through the ups and downs of life and business and everything, and I appreciate that. You know, it's a cliche to say that your spouse or your wife is the glue that holds the family together, but it's really not in our family, because I'll tell you, last week we had a flight that was delayed, and we're scrambling around Miami trying to catch a flight back. We were down in the Caribbean, and we're trying to get out of the Caribbean. Our flight was 7 hours delayed, and the only thing we could think of is on Sunday we have TCU women's basketball tickets, and we have to figure out how to get home. And so we're scrambling. We're 7 hours late. Our plane from Miami has already been canceled, so we didn't know what we're going to do. And make a long story short, we rented a car in Miami at midnight on Sunday morning, and we drove 3.5 hours to Orlando, the only flight we could catch to get back here, just so we could go to the TCU game. And the reason I tell you that story is because my kids, one of my children made a point. Thank goodness Mom's here, or we would still be wandering around the Miami area. Which is true, because I can't find I don't even know where our passports are. But she's always there, and I appreciate you. So I just want to say, this journey for me, it has been a long journey. And if you would have asked me in 1983 at Graham, Texas, 42 years later, that I'd be standing here as Alumnus of the Year, I'd have told you you're crazy. If you'd asked any of my teachers back then, ask my parents, they would have said you were crazy. But I'm going to tell you, I made a decision in 1978. Matter of fact, it was in March of 1978 that changed my life profoundly. And that's when I accepted the Lord as my personal Savior. And from that day on, I decided that I was going to follow him, I was going to trust him. And I can't really sit here and tell you that I've trusted him 100% all the time. Every now and then I get to thinking I'm smarter than he is, and I try to make those decisions. It never has worked out that way. But you know, he's led me on a journey that I wouldn't trade for the world. But I started off in 1983, and before I went to school, and my family was in the ranching business. They were in the oil and gas business. My dad started a company when he was young. He sold that company. We were worth a lot of money. I was an only child. Now you would think this only child, I could go down here to TCU, or I could go somewhere and I'd be tailgating with the rest of them and having fun at the football games and enjoying life. Well, not exactly. My dad sat me down about a month before I went to college, and he said, I don't know if these were his words, but he said, good luck. And I said, what do you mean good luck? He said, you're going to have some skin in the game because you're such a poor student and you haven't applied yourself. The only way that I think that you'll ever finish is to learn how to work and apply yourself and pay for your way through school. So I left there in 1983. I went to Tarleton. And the only reason I went to Tarleton is the only one I really thought I could afford. And I thought, you know, that's a good spot. I had some friends that were going down there. I got down there, and I don't know if I probably took 13 hours and maybe passed 3 of them. I don't know. I mean, I didn't do very well. And you know, as God always has a plan for me, one of my friends, first friends that I met down there, and some of you probably know him. He's been around Parker County forever. A guy named Chris Hanna. And I met Chris Hanna. And we've been best friends for 42 years. He still lives here in Parker County. Well, the story goes, he was down there, and he knew I had to pay my way through school, and he was working as well. And he said, why don't you come up on the weekends to Weatherford? His family lived out in Willow Park, and work with me. Man, we can find some hay hauling jobs. We can find whatever work we need to so we can raise some money. And we did. So we started running, that was in 1983. We started running around with some guys from Weatherford that were going to Weatherford College. Well, I started talking to them, and I said, what's the tuition at Weatherford College? Well, boy, I wasn't real smart back in '83, but I did the math, and I thought, well, I'm going to go to Weatherford College. And so I started enrolling and taking classes, and as Lynn said, I had to work my way through school. I worked every day. Matter of fact, if you've ever had taken your vehicle through the old blue beacon truck wash, between the hours of 10 o'clock at night and 3 o'clock in the morning, I would have been out there washing trucks. And I was out there every day washing trucks. And that's how I paid my way through school. Well, my education isn't a traditional. I didn't come to Weatherford College thinking I'm going to take 2 years of college and then I'm going to go on to Tarleton and finish. I had no idea. I had no idea. All I knew is I had to make enough money to pay for my tuition so I could continue to go to school. And I did. And so I finally graduated. Well, I'm going to back up just a little bit. Didn't really graduate. I didn't know I had a diploma until they called me a couple years later and said, hey, we have a diploma for you. You ought to come pick your diploma up. And I thought, well, what I major in? And so I just took enough classes that I could get out of this place and go back to Tarleton and finish up. Well, it took me 4 years to finish at Tarleton. I worked every day down there. I paid my way through school 100%, got a business degree. Now that's not really where the story starts. The story starts when I came back here and I started my business and I built our business and we raised our children here. And about 10 or 11 years ago, Doyle Moss, mayor out of Willow Park, he said, hey, I'm going to be getting off the board, the foundation board at Weatherford College. And I hadn't even been connected to Weatherford College during that time. I had no association with a whole lot of people at Weatherford College. He said, would you like to sit on our board? I said, well, I don't know, I have to pray about it. And so we did. Meredith and I prayed about it because I had kids that were playing football in Aledo, baseball, basketball, everything. They were gone all the time. I thought, I don't have the time to devote to that. Well, we prayed about it and God led us because God has just brought us down a path of so many blessings that we want to give back and we want to try to help other people. And I know what my path was to paying for school, and I know if I can keep anyone from having to go to that effort to get an education we wanted to. So I told him, I said, yeah, I will. And that was in 2014, I believe it was, and we've been on that board for a long time. And I'm going to tell you a story that had a profound effect on me. And then in closing, I just want to tell you this story because I would be remiss if I didn't put a plug in for our foundation board, because it is important. We do good work. I see a lot of our board members out here, and I appreciate you being here. But it's incredible what's going on, the foundation. And it's amazing to me to see the people that want to be a part of it. And Dr. Farmer, the reason that people want to be a part of this is because of your success and because of the board's success and what you're doing here. People want to be a part of success, and they see what's going on and they want to be a part of it. So our foundation is the same way. But we have a donors appreciation dinner every year. A lot of you I know have attended that. And I'm going to tell this story, and Brent's probably going to put his fingers in his ears because he's probably heard this story 1,000 times. So just bear with me. And I have maybe embellished the story a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like my hunting and fishing stories. They kind of grow over time. And I've been telling this story so long. But the first donor dinner that we ever had, Meredith was with me. The way that the donor appreciation dinner works is you sit at the table, and your recipient of your scholarship will be at the table with you. And so Brent never tells these students that he's going to put them on the spot, but he always puts them on the spot, and that's part of the agenda. He MCs it. I don't know. Have you ever known a better MC than that guy? So he MCs it, and he comes around, he puts you on the spot, and he say, John, stand up and tell us a little bit about your scholarship and what that means to you. And of course, those kids are just scared to death. They're like, oh, I didn't know I had to talk. Yeah, well, you do. And so they would stand up and talk. Well, the very first recipient, my first year at the Donors Appreciation Dinner, was a single, I guess, time to leave. Is that you cut me off? So the very first recipient was a single mom, mid-40s, 4 children, been in the military, and she stands up and she starts telling this story. And at the time, Meredith and I didn't have an endowment. We hadn't created the Gough Scholarship. I got chill bumps just thinking about that lady standing up talking. She started talking about how that scholarship allowed her to go and become a nurse. And she started crying, and everybody in there started crying, and I thought, all right, this is part of God's plan. He's put me here for a reason. And we're going to do everything we can to help Weatherford College, help our foundation grow that. And I want to encourage you, if you're not a part of our foundation, if you're not a part of helping Weatherford College grow, please become a part, because things are happening around here. I mean, you think about all the scholarships that we have awarded to people, and you think about the percentage of students that are on scholarship. I don't know about how many of you have had to pay your way through school or had to pay part of it, but I'm going to tell you, when you work every day and it takes you 6 years, you know, I could have stood up. I really believe that I probably was here a little bit longer than that, kind of off and on. I don't know if I'd have beat you, but I might have been close. But I just appreciate this honor. I really do. I mean, you other honorees, I mean, you're as deserving of this as I am, and there are so many candidates that are deserving of it, but I really take it serious. And I can tell you this, we have a lot of work to do still here at Weatherford College. And with our leadership, with our board, incredible things are going to happen. And I mean, it's fun to be a part of. So I just want to say thank you for this honor, and it means the world to me. And I promise you, I do not take it lightly. Thank you.